Peter Bedrosian, you're in charge of electrical vehicle product planning. How long have you been working on this new Leaf 2.0?
We have been working on this product since 2013 on the next generation.
5 years to put a car together.
Yes.
It still takes 5 years to put a car together from beginning to finish.
It does, but sometimes it takes a little bit less, 4 years, 3 years. But we started on this project in 2013, thinking about the second generation.
Okay, so then the Nissan Leaf was 2 years old. I drove it at that point with 50,000 kilometers. You had a bunch of experience. What did you want with this 2.0 version?
Well, the key things that we wanted with this generation was improve on the key elements of Leaf. The acronym for Leaf, as you know, it is an acronym. It's a leading, environmental friendly, affordable family car. So we want to protect that.
Yep.
At the same time, we want to integrate our Nissan Intelligent Mobility ethos. So we're actually...
Bunch of acronyms together, yeah. But you wanted more range, more
technology, keep it affordable, keep it a family car, and still zero emission.
Okay. So what point in time did you then say, okay, we're going to make this Leaf 2.0? So you worked on 2013, you had to think about everything to put in. At what moment was the design more or less, fixed? How long does that take?
Well, initially in 2013, you start talking about the second generation. You don't do any engineering work, but about what should the second generation Leaf be? What elements are we going to focus on? What technologies are we going to focus on?
So you're talking a lot.
And we were learning from customers in the first 2 years. We're getting feedback from them and what they like and dislike about that. So we make a list of areas that we want to improve and prioritize. And again, it was early, 2 years of launch of the vehicle. As time went on, we started selling more cars, we started getting more feedback, and probably a couple of years after that, we started to design the product. 2014
or 2015?
Roughly, yes.
2015, you basically had already the Pro Pilot was 2015 because there was other centers in Silicon Valley, it was clear that technology was working.
Yes, it was. So we actually at that point had cars driving around with autonomous technology. Even going well before 2015, we had cars in Japan that our advanced engineering team was really studying this idea of autonomous driving, improving the driving experience, reducing the stress of driving in traffic.
Oh no, we all love it. But did the technology come from Japan or from Silicon Valley?
It started in Japan, moved to Silicon Valley to develop further, but it's collaboration.
By a Dutch guy, huh? Maarten.
Yeah. So there was a lot of collaboration between of course, our technical center, advanced engineering in Atsugi, Japan, and also Silicon Valley, and then all the planning groups in the U.S. and Europe were involved.
Because 3 factories, U.S., U.K., and then in America. So the battery charges. Now we have a car about the same price, 32,000, starting with a 40 kilowatt battery for the same price.
Yes.
But the price of the battery went down way more in 6 or 7 years than that 50%.
Yes, the battery costs are improving. Definitely.
Way more, right? I mean,
technology is improving, the chemistry is improving. We were able to increase the capacity from 30 to 40. And we didn't take up any more packaging space. So it fits in the same space as the old battery. And it only weighs about 14 to 17 kilograms more than the 30 kilowatts. So quite an accomplishment. We took a lot of weight out of not only the cells, but how it's packaged in that space. The cost of the batteries did come down, and then it really offset all the technology. So the economics of this
car will be better than the first generation Leaf for you as Nissan.
Hope so.
Yeah, you deserve that. Okay, yeah. And then so in 2015 the design was ready. How much if you have a design, how long does it take for a plant to be ready in UK and a plant in the US and a plant in Japan? Because you have different manufacturers and different suppliers in every part. So when does manufacturing preparation start?
Well, it starts at the very beginning as well. So once we freeze when we have the clay design, it's roughly 3 years typically from clay to production. It's about a 3-year cycle.
Okay, so the clay was finished in 2015. Yeah, and
roughly,
then, roughly, yeah. And then you have 3 different manufacturers who have slightly different kind of products and slightly different suppliers and to produce all that.
It's a complex, to manufacture product in 3 plants, but it's a common body design, common stamping. So yeah, there was a lot of collaboration between all the manufacturing locations, but it is built in 3 different plants with 3 different workforce, 3 different line setups. So
3 different battery factories?
It's quite complex. Yeah, a huge team, and it's quite an accomplishment to bring
it all together. How many people did work on the design of the Leaf? Is that 100 people, 200 people, 500 people?
I don't know the exact number, but I know it's in the thousands.
Thousands of people.
If you put everybody put together, we have a huge team working on Leaf.
Thousands of people. Okay. And then when did the first non-production car? Because I've now driven a car which is non-production, right? This is a pre-production car, they call it.
It's very close. It's pre-production.
Pre-production.
Correct.
So when did the first one come off the production line?
Well, we have various prototype stages. Ones that are super early, that are cobbled together just to get an early idea of the packaging and how the car is going to drive. But I would say the primary prototype was probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And it was in Japan or America or UK?
Built in Japan.
Built in Japan. Okay. Who designed the car? Is it a Japanese designer, an English designer, an American, or a Dutch one?
So the design...
The primary designer.
Primary designer.
There's thousands of people working on it. But
there's a lot of designers, and we have studios in UK, we have a studio in the US, and we have a studio in Japan, and they all compete on the design, all the designers. And the final design work actually happens in Japan, but again, all the ideas for the Leaf came from our various studios.
Yeah. So you cannot say there's Mr. Design Leaf 2.0. There's not a human being. It's a team of very complex people all over the world.
There's probably a person that actually won the design that can.
Yeah, who was that? Was it a Japan or an American or an Englishman?
I'm not actually quite sure because I joined the program late, but we'll find out.
Yeah, okay. So then what was the most hardest thing about the Leaf 2.0 to get right? What was the nightmare which basically kept you up and kept everybody up to deliver the car?
Well, address all the customer needs.
But I mean something very specific. I mean, was it the electronics, or was it the battery, or was it the
biggest thing really to incorporate all the technology like ProPilot Park, e-pedal, increase the range of the vehicle with the 40 kilowatt-hour battery, and actually bring it together at the same price as the current car. That was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, so everything was a problem. There was not something which really wasn't...
I would say it was a challenge.
No, but I mean, there was no particular, real individual thing you go like, we nailed it, but that was really hard.
Actually pulling it all together but there was no individual thing that was difficult for us to execute. The typical challenges, but bringing it all together in the price point.
Tomorrow, the Leaf comes to the market, everybody is extremely enthusiastic, and then suddenly you don't sell 50,000 cars a year, but 300,000 cars a year, right? And you have, in England, you have a factory of 500,000 cars. How many of those, and that factory produces gasoline cars, diesel cars, EV cars in the same production lines, right? Could that manufacturing plant produce 500,000 Leafs if the demand was there?
If the demand was there, we can certainly ramp it up, but if it gets to that scale, of course it will require for us to expand the capacity. But our plants are generally very flexible in terms of switching from petrol to diesel or EV. So we can switch from model to model based on consumer demand. So we can shift some of that capacity to EV.
But some, can it go from 30,000 to 50,000, or can it go from 30,000 to 250,000?
I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if the bottleneck is the bottleneck now, for example, in battery production, if you would have to have twice as many Leafs, then batteries would be the biggest problem, and the factories we could work on, or is everything problematic?
It could be, but primarily it would be the battery. Being able to produce the batteries.
Yeah. You sold off the battery factory, right? It's now owned by a Chinese company. It's still the same company, but I mean, it's not owned primary with, it used to be a joint venture, I think. It's now not primary owned by Nissan. Is that because you are more flexible that way, or why is that?
Well, the sale is still in progress. It's not finalized, but we are in the process of doing that. But the reason we started the joint venture in the beginning was because there was no battery industry. So we had to kind of create some of these industries to realize our Leaf concept. So again, we're beyond that now. There are specialized manufacturers, and we've decided as a company to sell off the battery business. Again, it's in progress, but yes, it will be.
Are your 80 hours a week now over? Now that is the biggest stuff of your work done?
For the launch of the Leaf, yes, but we're working on the next generation.
Yeah, of course, you go your next 5-year project, but I mean,
yes, next 80 hours begins for the next project.
Good luck for Leaf 3.0. Thank you very much, Peter.